I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that like a food is like meant for a certain time of day. You can eat whatever the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want. Who gives a shit? True. There are no rules in general. Everything is made up. We're all gonna die. Whatever. Gets really dark with it. Really fast. But like, it's just good, man.
It's good. Yeah.
That's where I was going with that.
How's it going, everyone? After a short little hiatus and some panicking on my behalf, we are back with episode 92, 2 of the Lunchtime Serenade podcast.
Shit, is it 3? Whatever, I'll fix it.
Let's look. Let's definitively. I think it's 2.
I literally look at this stuff like every week, and I just never remember.
We haven't looked for a month. It's fine.
It's fine.
Anyways, today we have food from a place called Eaton Park. Eaton Park. Yeah. Park and Eat? Eaton Park.
And let me tell you, based solely off the name and the coffee that I just drank,
it's gonna slap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely so far gives me the like the full diner vibes of just like, you know, you show up there either like hungover or like,
yeah, that's the vibes I got from
yeah. That's what this feels like. But are you ready to unveil?
I'm ready to unveil the Eaton Park. It's Eaton Park, which seems like it should be Park and Eat.
Yeah, like why not just call it Eden Park?
Eden Park. I like that.
Like make it like a cool little thing.
That's kind of cool.
But I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's probably like a drive.
It's definitely. I mean, it's in styrofoam. So
yeah. This is what I expect.
Yes,
from the name Eden Park.
Absolutely.
And I'm not mad about it. That's not a critique.
No.
All.
I'm like this diner aesthetic is one of my favorite things. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, fuck,
still
bro.
Right. That looks fire.
Holy shit.
Damn. I still got to do a review. And it's still really fucking warm, bro.
Yeah.
Wow, it's actually kind of hot. It got here so fast. It's in Burbank.
Wow, that's like hot.
Yeah, it's hot, dude.
Jesus.
That's crazy. That's why the styrofoam is fucking warped. That's crazy. I'm going to get a little bit of CFCs in my system today. It's from Burbank, too. So, like, I'm surprised that you made the drive over here.
That's crazy.
Still fucking hot.
But what'd you get, Nick?
I got a breakfast burrito with crispy potatoes, ham, bacon, chorizo, and sausage. Oh, and then a little bit of caramelized.
So much, dude.
It
How did
literally
all
says
fit in there?
all meat.
They were like, we know what this guy needs.
This guy's getting all meats, which, you know, maybe not the best idea before a tennis match, but it's all right.
Hey, I mean, protein is good.
Protein is protein.
Right?
What'd you get?
I got myself a Monte Cristo sandwich, which apparently I feel like I should know more about like like diner food. Mm-hmm. Not from like they give me 2 knives.
What the fuck? No fork?
No. Like everything, just 2 knives.
2 knives.
I feel like that's like a factory issue.
That's a factory thing. They're losing money.
But every time they just print out 1 extra knife,
and like, why are our profits in the fucking toilet right now?
Why did I just lay off 30% of my entire staff? What's going on?
Oh, sir, the knife cutting machine spit out an extra knife for the past 7 months.
For the past 7.5 years.
We've been printing 2 knives instead of 1.
But I got the Monte Cristo sandwich, which I was just saying, I feel like I should understand like diner food more because I feel like this is a thing.
I think it is a thing.
Like, because it's just like ham, Swiss, and like a little bit of like hot sauce with some onions. Mm-hmm. And then this one is French toast for the bread.
I think that's what they are, right?
Yeah,
so they're on French toast.
I don't know, man.
I don't fucking know either.
It seems like a thing that's like a commonplace,
it does
like American diner.
Because that looks fire.
Yeah,
French toast is so fucking good. I love that it can be savory or sweet.
Exactly,
it's a versatile food.
You can do so much with it. It's like it's basically a crepe.
Yeah.
Oof, all right, we're dipping it,
dunking it
in the syrup. We're starting it off.
All right,
extra spicy. Yo, I'm confused and aroused.
This is dense. That's dense as hell, bro. There's so many
because you've got like 3 whole animals shoved into that tortilla.
This is a barnyard special right here.
Dude, that's really good. Wow. You know, I will say, again, this is always the thing about delivery, is that like the French toast is like a little like soggy, but that's just because it's basically been steaming itself for like 20 minutes, right? But like Dude, that tastes really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, that looks fire.
Like, I feel like it tastes a lot more simplified than it sounds.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you get that little bit of sweetness, especially when it's dipped in the fucking syrup. You get that sweetness from that egg-soaked French toast. Yeah. And then as you like get through it, you get to that Swiss, which kind of like bites it with a little bit of a bitter.
Yeah.
And then you get the rest of the ham, which also has like a tiny, tiny sweetness to it, as most hams do. So you just, it's like a great, savory, sweet concoction.
That's perfect. I think there's a beauty in the simplicity of diner food. You know, they don't claim to be anything they're not. They don't try to be over the top. They don't try to put a bunch of fucking aiolis and crazy shit on there.
Right.
They're just like,
and sometimes that's all you want.
Sometimes that's all
There's
you want.
nothing wrong with getting a $45 plate with that's just like a bunch of different like sauces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sometimes this is all you need, and this is all you want.
Sometimes that's a fact. And this is, I can't say that this is the absolute best breakfast burrito I've ever had, but is it a good bang for my buck? Yes. Is it full? Yes. Is it still hot, surprisingly?
Yeah.
Yes. Am I going to be satisfied? Yes. But am I going to feel like shit? Probably not. Like, it's a good balance of everything.
I'm actually like genuinely surprised because I'm like, usually when I eat diner food, I feel great in the moment and it like does the job that I need it to do, and then I feel like shit afterwards.
Yeah.
But like right now, I'm just not getting that vibe.
It's not astonishingly greasy.
Yeah, and I got to be honest with you, the more people that use Lowry seasoning salt instead of just regular salt on things, that's the move. That or Lowry's garlic salt, also great.
Yeah.
But that's what they put on the potatoes.
Yum.
And I got the like onions, and I love like onion, green pepper with potatoes and stuff.
So fucking good, bro.
So I was like, yeah, I'll pay the extra $2 for all that shit.
Absolutely.
And it's really good.
Yeah.
I almost like the potatoes more
Really?
than
More
the
than the
sandwich.
sandwich, huh?
But yeah, I would say, listen, food is a sliding scale, right?
Always.
You can't necessarily hold up like, okay, I don't know. How do you feel about this? Okay. You can't necessarily put this in front of somebody at like a Michelin-starred restaurant and expect to get the same scale.
Oh, no.
As you would somebody like us.
Absolutely
right?
not.
So like, I feel like, for diner food, this is like an easy like 8.75, almost a 9.
That's what I'm saying.
In terms of like overall food, it's probably like a 6.5.
Yeah.
But like, I think that sliding scale sometimes
it changes with context. It adapts to the context.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
But this is really good. I really like this.
Yeah, I'd say this is almost a 9 for me as far as diner food goes too. Because it's just like, it's full. It's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
It's just plain and simple, and it's a lot of food.
Yep. And I'm sure you've got like a bunch of short order cooks, that are used to just making like 1-2 things, throwing on a plate, kicking it out, right? Yeah. So like, to kind of give this variety in that kind of a setting is pretty dope. Like the rest of their menu is like pretty intricate to a point where I would expect it to have like a full-on kitchen, not necessarily like short order cooks all over, right?
Fruity Pebble waffles.
Yeah, right.
Cocoa Pebble waffles.
I saw the Cinnamon Toast Crunch waffles and I was like,
oh, dude, I was so tempted.
I was genuinely considering it.
I was so fucking tempted.
Dude, fuck. Anything like cereal at any time of the day is a perfectly acceptable snack and or meal.
Elite, bro.
I don't give a shit.
I often end my days with cereal. Like before bed.
No.
It's so good.
It's like the perfect dessert because like you still kind of get everything with it. And like in the case of those waffles, it's just throwing it all together.
Yeah, dude.
Where like most of the time with waffles, like you could treat a waffle as a dessert anyways because it's already sweet.
Yeah, that's a fact. Again, another versatile. You can make it. It's sweet. It can be savory. It can be all that stuff.
That's the interesting thing with like specifically breakfast food, which like I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that like a food is like meant for a certain time of day. You can eat whatever the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want. Who gives a shit? True. There are no rules in general. Everything is made up. We're all gonna die. Whatever. Just gets really dark with it. Really fast. But like, it's just good, man.
It's good. Yeah.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, I think
that whole rant is like you should just be able to eat whatever you want, whenever you want. And
case in point,
it can be whatever flavor profile you want it to be. I mean, so long as it's good, I suppose. Like, don't just like throw shit together. Yeah. Unless you have like a plan. True. That's kind of just what cooking is.
It is, but some people are way better at just like cooking with whatever,
dude,
than others. My dad can make a fucking meal out of anything. I cannot.
Megan can too.
Really?
It's
yeah,
crazy.
Right. She totally can. That's crazy.
every time we're sitting at home and we're like, oh, we don't really have anything, and I'll just like open the pantry and just start listing shit that's in there, and I'll just see her just like scrolling on her phone because like I know she's like looking at recipe ideas.
Just try to concoct them all into one.
Yeah, and then she just like pops it, gets up, just starts grabbing stuff, like heating up a pan, and I'm just like, God, you're so good at this.
Damn, that's a fucking skill, bro. That's crazy.
It truly is. Like, and that's something that you really got to work at. Like, cooking is just such an interesting science.
Yeah.
Like, especially baking, because baking is just fucking chemistry. That's all it is.
Right.
But like, to be able to look at like a set of ingredients and be like, yes, this is gonna work because of like all of these things is just like such an incredible honed skill.
Yeah.
That like
you should be able to put that on a resume, quite honestly.
Absolutely,
like that can apply to so many different aspects of your life.
I think like, dude, especially I'm gonna make an analogy to the film industry. Like,
please,
if you sit there and you've got a guy who's like been working in kitchens his whole life and he's like coming into the mix to do all this stuff, I have a feeling that person's going to do exceptionally well because it's like everything about working in a kitchen is just like controlled chaos, right? Like you're just really trying to get stuff done like all the time.
You got to adapt and improvise like last minute.
Exactly. Yeah. And you've got to completely change what you're doing to do something else and like keep all these things in your head. Like, especially in a set environment where like things are just happening all the time, especially like smaller sets, like indie budgets and stuff like that, under a couple million, like that's just it. You just do so well in that.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I think that anyone who's worked in a kitchen could go into like any high stress environment job and excel.
Absolutely,
truly,
absolutely.
You know,
I always get like really annoyed whenever I see like things talking about like, oh, they're just like flipping burgers in a McDonald's. I'm like, bro, you do it. That shit sounds so stressful and just like hard.
Shit. Fucking handling a million orders at once. Like, dude, I went to Exchange last night at this, only for like an hour, bro. Holy shit. My friend was playing and she's like, I'm playing the first slot. I'm like, she's like, I'll put you on the guest list.
And you're like, great, because I'm out after that.
Cool, I'll go. So I go.
All the way downtown. Did you Uber?
All the way downtown. No, I drove.
Ooh, you found parking?
Well, so that's the thing. So like, you can't find park. You have to pay. You're gonna have to pay.
Yeah.
Stupid amounts, right? So, anyways, I find this little valet lot, $15, easy.
Oh shit,
actually really good.
Yeah, what the
right
hell?
across the street. So I was like, what the fuck?
Downtown?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, dude. Wow. I was so surprised. I was like, really? So I drive down this little garage, like, and it was truly like, here's a garage, here's Exchange. It was across the street, 1 block over. It was like crazy location. I was like, this seems, and it was not even packed. I expected to see a huge line of cars. I was like, am I dreaming right now? So I go down this little.
What time?
It was kind of early. Well, it wasn't early. I mean, it was like 10.
I mean, on Friday night, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, I would still expect to see a lot of fucking people there. That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
LA people talking about fucking parking. God
I
damn
know,
it.
right? I know. So I get down there. There's only like 3 cars. I'm like, am I going to get murdered? Like, is this even open? Like, I'm about to turn around and I see this guy run around the corner. Like, he's running, bro. Short little Mexican dude.
Like doing like the Get Out run.
Yeah.
Like he's like full like upright posture.
Fucking Tom Cruise run. Just like.
The Tom Cruise.
He runs up to my car. And, he doesn't even start speaking English. He doesn't even like try to speak English. He just immediately just Spanish me.
He looked at you and was just like, "This guy's got me."
I don't even think it was me. He was doing it with everyone. That was the funny part.
Okay.
So like, because more people pulled in after me. Because that's what I thought at first. I was like, is he just maybe he just looks like I speak Spanish? Got a little sunburned yesterday or something like that. He's like $15. I'm like, all right, cool. Hand him cash only, whatever.
Oh, easy.
He gives me the ticket, and then all of a sudden like 4 more cars pull in, and he's about to take my keys, and he's like. He like runs, he sprints around the corner again. Don't know what he's doing around the corner. Comes back, still sprinting. $15. And then this woman pulls up and she's like, she knocks on my window, or she like signals me to roll my window down, not knock. And she's like, do you have cash? I don't have cash. It's cash only. I'm like, can you Venmo me? And she's like, yeah, I'll Venmo you, but we don't have service down here. I'm like, I trust you. Fine. Hand me cash.
Wait. You just gave this guy money. And then another person came up and it's like, give me money.
Another person in a car. Because they wanted to park there. So I give the attendant money. I give the attendant money.
Okay.
I'm not explaining this well.
I was like, wait, who is this other person?
I gave the attendant money, $15, to pay for my parking. Mm-hmm. And then a woman pulls up going the opposite way, assuming she turned around.
I see.
That's maybe what he was running to. And she's like, motions for me to roll down my window. Hey, I want to park here, but I don't have cash. Do you have cash?
I see. So she's asking for help.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I'm like, okay, sure. Scan my Venmo. I'm like, just pay me when you get upstairs because there's no service down here. I handed her the 20. Luckily, she paid me.
God, you're the most Midwest kid.
I know.
You're like, yeah, dude, let me help you out.
Of course, just whatever. So he's just running to every car, and I'm like, I can park. So you just tell me where to park. He's like, no. He takes the keys.
That's not what we do here.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, sure. He's the only one working, bro. He's sprinting from car to car. He's like taking money. He's like putting shit like on hooks. He's doing the thing. He's driving the car. Bro,
that shit's also a fucking hard job, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Jesus
like that.
Christ.
That's what reminded me of it. Is he's like he would excel in any fucking position. He was taking that job so seriously, man. It was great. He was,
dude. Anything that like, especially that too, because it requires like, like spatial awareness and shit too, right? Because you got to be like, yeah, that car would fit better there.
Yeah.
And then you do like that game where you have to like slide the bricks around and like get the red one out.
Yeah, rush hour.
And it's just rush hour.
Yeah.
You just do that for your job. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Yeah. Anyways, I got it back in an hour. It was great.
Damn.
Yeah, dude, I will not go to. I can't fucking do it. I can't go to places like that anymore.
Why?
It's so late. They start so late. The doors were at 10.
Yeah.
The show went till 2:30. I mean, like,
fuck, dude.
That's crazy.
It's wild too, like thinking about it, where it's like, that is basically your whole industry. Your whole industry is like, we start at midnight.
I know.
And then we go until the sun comes up.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's fucking insane.
Where it's like punk scenes and stuff like that is like, you go to a show at like 7 p.m. You're done at 9.
I know.
Like the band's selling merch, and then like they go like fuck around at some restaurant, and then they go back and go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Well, I don't understand why EDM fans are heathens, but like, they're fucking children of the night, bro. It's crazy. Just running around, scampering around downtown.
Just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Trying to find their next bottle filled with Molly water.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was crazy. But anyways, I got to go. I got to find my friend. I was like, hi. She saw me. She's like, ah. I was like, cool. She saw me. I took a video as proof I was there, and I fucking dipped.
You finished her set, though,
I finished her set. Sure,
okay,
I finished her set. But as soon as she was like, bye, guys, I was like, bye.
Hey, great show. And then you're like, as you're walking to your car.
That's the other thing, though. There's no service in there, bro. Like, literally.
Well, yeah, you're like in the center of a building.
Yeah, you're deep inside. It's fucking thick ass walls. There's a million people there. It says the little SOS thing. Like, I couldn't even get a bar. So I'm like, I can't even, like, it wouldn't even make sense for me to try to meet up with her after. Like, I can't even, I might as well just fucking go. Like, it's not worth my sanity.
Otherwise, then you've got to like explain to the dude at the door, like, no, I'm friends with them, and they're like only managers back here, or some shit like that.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh, also, I mean, I got there. Not a lot of people get there at doors.
Of course not.
So like, there's a line forming, but it wasn't the normal line, because normally the line for exchange is like, it's big. So there's a corner. Yeah. There's a corner right here. And then Exchange is like 3 buildings over. Usually the line wraps around the corner. Yeah. It's like fucking crazy. So like there was not really a big line.
I mean, like the weird thing is about that place though is like it's actually a pretty damn good venue.
Oh, it's a great venue.
For that stuff specifically. It's the old Los Angeles stock exchange building. And it's just like a big empty room, like marble floors, and then like an upper deck that like you just hang out in. Yeah. And it's a really great place. Cool, but yeah, it's just like you walk into it and you're like, I am in a crypt.
Yeah, it literally feels like that.
Yeah, you're like, I can't.
It gets cold in there.
Yep, like that's like the beginning of like a D&D dungeon.
Yeah, literally, that's exactly what it feels like. Are you gonna see the movie, by the way? Have you seen it?
I'm going to.
Yeah.
There's so much shit on my list, but like with like our move, and I just got out of a screening cycle at work that I'm just like, where I was working like 7-day weeks for 3 weeks, where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
To just chill.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Anyway, so I get there, and then there's like the ticket line, and then like the guest list line, and I'm like, I go up to the guy in the guest list line. I was like, "Is this the guest list line?" He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Okay." He's like, "You have to be on this side of the tape though, or the little those little like things. What are those fucking called? Why can't I think of the name of that?"
I don't know. Ropes?
Yeah, like the ropes, but you know what I'm talking about.
Anyway. They pull out of the bar and then they slot in.
That thing.
We know what we're saying.
We know what we're talking about. So like there's that line here, and I'm just like walking on the sidewalk, and so I walk up to him, "Hey, guess this line?" He's like, "You have to be on this side of the thing." And I'm like, okay. So I duck under. He's like, ah.
And there's nobody in the line.
There's no one in the line. Dude, there's literally no one in the line. That's why I ducked under.
This dude in the ticket booth is having like a fucking power trip.
Yeah. So I get in there. He's like, no. I'm like, what? He's like, walk back around and walk back. I'm like, I'm not going to do that, man. I'm like, there's no one here. It's doors. He's like, next time, don't do that. And I was like, yes, sir. The fuck?
Yeah.
Next time, don't do that, dude.
He like takes a picture of you with his cell phone.
Like he sounded like a mad dad. He's like, don't do that next time, dude. And I was like, okay, dude, sorry.
It's one thing if there's like people there.
I know I'm not gonna cut in front of people, but like there's literally no one there. You need to be on this side of the. Okay.
Should you have like popped the thing off?
Like what did
gone around it and then popped it back in? Would that have made him feel a little better?
Just go around next time, dude. So fucking pissed off. Like he was just like, I don't get paid enough for this shit. But he tried. He tried to get me to go around. Like why?
Yeah, bro.
What is it?
That's such an inconsequential thing. Just move on.
I know.
Who cares?
I know. So
Jesus Christ, dude.
It's so silly.
Also, those like ticketing lines are always just so like not well organized.
No, absolutely
like everybody just pops into a line and then they walk up and then like the only time that you see who is doing what is there's a sign directly above their heads.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if I'm not within distance of this, how the fuck am I supposed to know?
Exactly. I know. It's crazy. And then as soon as you get through that line, then there's like the 10 people like taking your tickets, but of course like we have that herd mentality, and so everyone just follows the one line, even though there's like 10 people taking tickets, and then they're like, no, keep going.
That's every time.
And then it creates a more over traffic jam.
Every time that we've gone to a show at like the Pantages downtown, I'll just walk up and I'll just see which line has like one less person. I'm like, that one.
yeah, exactly. Fucking superpower, bro. How was the screening cycle? What does that entail? What is that?
Basically, so it's kind of the same in every facet of post. Is like you are working on your movie for however long, and then specifically for animation, like because we're in like the beginning stages of this movie, right? We do screenings every 6 months.
Okay.
And basically bring in people from all over the studio, bring in like executives from Universal, bring in composers and stuff like that like we're trying to show it to.
Sure.
Bring them into our theater and show them the movie. That's basically it. So it's like all in storyboards. We have some like previs and stuff like that. But like, so a screening cycle is basically us just going like balls to the wall of like, we gotta get it all done.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're just working constantly to get everything finished, to get everything updated, make sure you're actually hitting notes that people gave you the last time around, especially from like executives and producers.
Right.
And so it's like, you do all that, and then they're like, yeah, that was really good. Here is 7 pages of notes. More. Yeah. And it's always like half of the notes are like things that we're like, I fully understand what you're trying to say here. I fully understand what you want from this, but like that's not what this is.
Yeah.
And that's like always like the convincing part.
So how do you communicate that to them?
Well, that's the issue, and that's kind of how it always is in the film industry, especially with producers, especially with executives and stuff like that, because like executives are looking at spreadsheets. They're business people. Right. That's what they are. They're not necessarily artists. I don't want to like discredit them or anything like that. But like,
it's a different
It's a different aspect. Like you're running a giant business. You're not like making a movie. So like I get it. So they're looking at it from a perspective of, okay, what it is that we make, how does it sell, how does it fit into like these markets and stuff like that.
Sure.
What are we merchandising, what can we sell of it, how do we get it in theaters, how do we make people think what it is. And like, so they're like, we need basically these boxes checked because we know that will make us money.
Okay.
And we're like, okay, cool, we get that, but like that's not what the movie is.
Got it.
So it's kind of like, it's always a back and forth, and that's just kind of how film production works.
Interesting.
And that's the thing of it, it is a business. At the end of the day, like you are trying to make money.
Yeah.
And it's a very expensive fucking thing that we do. So like, multi-million dollars, you're trying to be like, okay, we need to at least break even.
Yeah.
But like we need to make a profit, or else how the fuck do we sustain ourselves forever?
Right.
So it's always an interesting conundrum when you get the notes and it's a bunch of stuff that you don't agree with, but then you're also like, well, they got to sell it. So like you understand it from that perspective as well. But like for the first time, like this screening was like our marketing department was like excited. So we were like, great, okay, we're on the right track.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's always like, you know, we hunker down and we're like, okay, we got to get all of this done by this date. Like we're pencils down this date.
Yeah.
And so you just go really fucking hard at it. Damn. And so like, you know, our lead editor is pulling like 10-hour days for like 7 days straight.
That's crazy.
And then like this last week was like our week of basically getting notes, going to meetings. Like they do, especially in animation, this is very common, is they'll do like director meetings, and they'll also do like, they'll do punch-ups as they call them, which is basically like all the directors get into a room together with like some other writers and stuff, and then like they basically critique the movie that you just made to the director of that movie. Okay. And then they give suggestions on stuff. So it's basically like a think tank of all of like the leaders of these movies. Yeah. And then like you'll do comedy punch-ups. So they'll just look at the script and be like, okay, we can insert a comedy beat here. Got it. We can insert an emotional beat here, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So like they do that for like a week and a half, talk with the story team and stuff. So like this was kind of our week of like, okay, we can just kind of like catch our breath, get caught up on some things. So we just like clean the project and everything. But our editor was like, I'm taking the first vacation I've taken in like 10 years. And we're like, oh my God, please go. So they're in Tahiti right now.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go.
That sounds awesome.
Absolutely just getting as much R&R as they can get. Jesus, and I'm so excited for them.
Yeah, that's so nice. Holy shit.
But yeah, so screening cycles are usually pretty rough. And it's also interesting too, because you think about it and it's like, animation, at least in the post world, especially like editorial specifically, is kind of like the best kept secret that is now getting out. Yeah. Because like people are realizing, oh, I could just work on one movie for 4 years, get paid pretty well, and like not have to kill myself for 8 months straight, and then worry about where the next gig is and stuff. Yeah. You know, once you get up to like this point, you know, you don't really have to worry about it because a director is going to pull you from gig to gig, or like, you know, you're just a recognized person. The guy from Everything Everywhere All at Once, that guy's not going to have to worry about shit for the rest of his life. Oh, yeah. Guaranteed. Yeah. One, he's a great dude. Two, he just won a goddamn Oscar. Yeah. And arguably a movie that has propelled the industry forward a little bit. Yeah. Thinking that all of VFX in that movie took 12 people.
That's insane, bro.
Crazy.
That's fucking nuts.
Complete aside, but they went to like a bunch of post houses, and the Daniels were like, well, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it. And all of these traditional post houses were like, that's not going to work in our pipeline. Like, you have to do it this way. And they're like, all right, fine. We'll just do it. So they just went back to the same like group of 12 guys that did all of it for Swiss Army Man, and they were like, "Can you do this?" And they were like, "Yeah." And they did. Cool and then they just won like 8 Oscars.
I know, they fucking swept. That's so cool.
It was crazy.
That's so cool.
That movie, the Daniels specifically, are like, it's like everything that I've always wanted about like the movies is like what they have just been doing. Yeah. Because like, you go back and you watch some of their shorts. There's one of it's on YouTube and it's really quick, but it's like Daniel Kwan's like over the other Daniel, and he like pulls his pants down like over his face to like get him to like scare into his butt, you know, like that. And he does that, and the other one like kicks him in the butt, and his leg like goes into his ass. So it's him like getting sucked into his butt, and they're like running around the house like trying to get him out. That's the whole short. It's just that. Hilarious. And like they went from like that to doing like music videos. Turned Down for What? That's
sure, yeah, I did know
so
that.
Like they did all that, and then they made Swiss Army Man, and people were like, "This is fucking weird, but let's go with it." And
that's just their vibe then. Huh?
Yeah, one movie later, they win Best Picture, Best Directors, Best Editing. Like I love that shit.
That's so fucking cool, man.
That's the thing. Is like, okay, cool. Indie movies are now like, they look better than what an indie movie was 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you stack those up, and it's just.
Do you think that has to do with technology?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think too, like, as scared of the climate of AI that I am, I really think that that's going to make things even bigger in like the next 10 years, because you're going to be able to shrink teams down, which is bad, because like you know, you have all of these really talented people who do all of this shit
that are now going to just be replaced with a script. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's gross, but you have to think about it from the aspect of the artist using the tool, and not the tech bro trying to make millions out of it. Yeah. Because I mean, you put some of those things into those talented people's hands.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be.
They're gonna make so much incredible shit with it. But the problem is that you have all of these like tech bros up here being like, well, we can just sell this.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the conundrum with AI, because it's like it's being built by all of these people that are like they genuinely don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Which like,
tough.
Listen, I get it. Again, it's a business. You got to do what you got to do. But like, you muscle all these people out, you ruin kind of like the best thing about art is that it is created by a person.
Yeah.
Like the fact that somebody had sat down and like drew all of this, or like, you know, modeled this and then composited into it, that somebody sat behind the camera to do this, that somebody was right there in that moment with all this shit around them. That's the coolest part about it, is that it's like imperfect. And like AI isn't perfect right now because of the, you know, the whole hand thing. But like, you know, you're going to get to a point where it's just like mathematically perfect, and it just takes away that the human quality of it. So like that's the conundrum of like, okay, well, you give it to a skilled person who can use it to make their job easier. But you then have all these people being like, oh, well, if your job's easier, then we don't have to hire anybody, and you can now output 20% more than you used to.
Yeah.
So it's just...
Well, that's the thing that happened with, not necessarily the AI part, but like the music part, when DAWs were becoming more and more accessible, and it was like, it became like insanely, not easy, but infinitely easier to make like a quote-unquote perfect sounding song. You know, everything is perfectly quantized, everything is on the beat, on the grid, whatever, in tune, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And now, like, it got to the point where it's too perfect, and now the whole point is to make it imperfect again. Like, we've reached the point of like, okay, like we can make everything insane, like literally perfect. And now it's just like, how do we break this to make it more human again?
That's so interesting, though.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go about doing that? Like, are there specific things that like you do to kind of...
A lot of it is like, well, nothing will ever like replace playing an instrument for real. You
absolutely.
Know? So like, and the best part, you know, you can listen to a click track and play along to it. There's still going to be little imperfections because you're playing it. So that's always a really good substitute. But a lot of people, what people do is like, electronic musicians at least, I can't speak for many other, you know, aspects of music, because I feel like a lot of people also just still play their music. But like electronically produced music, like it's hard to place the drums out of time, right? Like it gives you little sections where it's just like, this is going to be exactly on the beat. So what people will do is when they're making like drums, especially to give it more of a human feel, they'll literally like go in, zoom in as far as possible, and like slide the drums like off the grid a little bit. Like there's so many little things, you know, it's really interesting. And now there's like plugins that'll like, let's call it like humanizing. Like literally it's like
That's
there's a
so
button that says like,
crazy,
humanize
dude.
this, and it'll make it like not perfect. It's interesting.
Which is so funny, because then it's like still mathematically
Yes, exactly.
perfectly imperfect.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
know.
weird. That's
It's
so
crazy.
interesting, though.
Yeah.
That's something I like never even considered, because like, you know, you think about it and you're like, yeah, exactly. Like you have a grid, everything's chopped into exactly where you need it to be. But like going into that much detail and just sliding something
it
over,
so it's like falls like just a little off the grid. It gives it some swing, gives it whatever. Yeah.
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, that's kind of the thing that I've always like really thought was like the coolest part of electronic music, was like how much control over everything that you have.
Every fucking thing.
And you can go down into the minutia and do that.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, again, like you have a person at a drum kit, they play it.
Right.
Whatever they just played, that's what you have.
That's what you have. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool. Like you can fuck with that a lot, but then like you I don't know, there's just something so interesting about that level of detail.
Yeah.
That just some dude sitting at a computer can do that.
Yeah.
You have to have the mindset and like the skill and the experience to know to do that. But it's just so interesting that like you can do that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, dude. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, we've come so far that like now we have the technology to do things perfectly, but now we're trying to sway it back. Like it's always a constant battle between that, you know, which I think is very interesting. No matter what the industry is, there's always going to be like, oh, technology is going to catch up to a point where it can automate 80% of something, but now how do we take that and like make it our own and make it, you know.
You can also look at it too of like okay, well, obviously AI has taken over. Does that mean like human made art increases in value at some point too? Because now it's like it's a smaller commodity.
For sure.
So like, does that open a new pathway for artists, for creators of any kind, to make a better living for themselves? Or does that fully shrink the group that is able to do that? That's the thing. Like you have to have access to these things.
Does it make it much harder to find those artists now that we're just fucking inundated with like, oh, art. Everyone is just can be an artist now.
Yeah. Well, that's like the coolest thing again with the advancement of technology. It's like you have infinite amounts of tutorials and like all of these different like spaces that you can go get critique, go into a Discord. You watch a whole bunch of videos on how to draw certain things. You draw some stuff, you throw it in a Discord filled with other artists that give you comments and critique. You then adapt. Like the learning curve, I feel, has been shrunk quite a bit.
Yes.
It's obviously still very hard and still very much a skill that you need to work at. But like, you can find those things more.
It's accessible.
Yeah, you don't have to go to Cal Arts.
Exactly.
And be taught by like the industry's best.
Right.
You can just go watch some stuff and then figure it out for yourself. It's really interesting, and that's like
cool.
It's like it's kind of funny too, because the director of our movie is he was a storyboard artist. He was a character designer. Like that's what he did. And so like every now and then like you'll hear them like talking about, you know, the movie. He's directing. He's a director. He's talking about it and stuff like that. And then he gets like to a point where he's like talking to one of the story artists who's like drawing storyboards, and he's like, "How did you make that brush?" Oh, and like they just talk about like how they created their brushes in Photoshop.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is so interesting.
That's wild.
It's just so it's just like you get to this point where like, you know, this dude was drawing with pencils on cell paper forever.
Yeah.
And like, you know, then he got into Photoshop and he started doing stuff like that. And now he's like asking people who are like 20, 30 years younger than him, like, how did you make that? Like, I want to know.
That's fucking
and
cool, man.
And like, it's just like this sharing of information. And it's just so interesting that like you get to the point where it's like you're literally creating brushes to make a specific texture or something like
wild.
That. It's crazy.
That's cool as fuck.
That's like the Photoshop equivalent of zooming all the way in and dragging it over.
Exactly. No, you're totally right.
It's
and
crazy.
That's cool. I mean, there's equivalents for that in every form of media. I think, you know. So this is fucking.
It's a weird like frontier we find ourselves on.
Yeah.
Is that like we're at this moment where like we can either do something insanely cool with this and like make people's lives better and progress ourselves, or we can just follow the typical roles of capitalism, steamroll a bunch of people, and then have this weird awakening.
Increase
30 years
the company's
later.
Profits fucking 30-fold,
and then still lay off 17,000 people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's just such a strange.
It's a fine line, but I don't think it's going to be a fine line forever. We're going to lean one way or the other, probably the other, you know, very soon.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be, you know, it's going to.
That was the thing. I was watching a streamer playing, and they were talking about AI and stuff like that, and they were like, "Listen, if I don't have to pay somebody to make me a thumbnail and I can just type it into a thing, I'm going to do that."
Oh, of course.
And I'm just like, you can't fault the guy.
I know. Because
you're like, listen, like you're still a person trying to make money off of this stuff. You're trying to save as much as you can because, you know, it's your thing, right? Like you're a one-man army in this scenario. So it's like, you can't fault them for thinking that, but then it's also like, okay, but that's harmful in the overall scheme.
Here's the difference, though. This is where I think the difference is. Like that, like a streamer or a YouTuber or whatever, like AI generating their thumbnails, and you know, versus like a corporation replacing their entire art and marketing department. Right. You know, I think there's a pretty big difference there.
The pool is much, much smaller.
Yeah.
So it's like you can look at it and being like, yes, you're going to end up being one of 3 or 4 fish in this pool, which like damaging to an ecosystem, yes. But that's different from being in an ocean where you are one of 3 fish.
Yes.
So that's like the thing where I'm like, I get it. Like, you're probably still going to hire somebody to do your bigger things. But yeah, for thumbnails, like smaller things that you can blast out, why not?
Right.
I get that.
Exactly.
And that's the thing where I'm like, okay, like it has applications at like smaller levels.
Right. It's not like completely black and white. Yeah. It's not. You know?
Yeah. And then like you think about it too of like, okay, cool. You have an artist on retainer that makes all of your graphics, all of these things, like stuff for your videos, especially like editors and stuff like that. You know, you have all these things. And then, you know, you give them this thing of being like, here, use this, it'll make thumbnails.
Right.
So like you make that person's job easier so that they can focus on other things more.
Exactly.
And that's the perfect balance of where AI needs to be.
I think so. Instead of like the people who are not involved in that being like, oh, let's just use AI when they don't even fully understand what that means. And then they just like, you know, kind of blindly lay off a shitload of people versus being like, oh, hey, let's give this AI to the people who know how to use it. See what happens. Go from there. You know, maybe make this part easier and then make them focus more on this or whatever, you know, type of thing.
You make their jobs easier so that they can focus on the harder things with more effort.
Yeah.
They do a better job.
Yeah.
You make more money.
Exactly.
Theoretically, you pay them more.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
That's the other thing too is I used to work at a small like digital marketing company down in El Segundo, and they did like corporate videos and stuff like that. So it was a lot of talking head stuff, right?
Yeah.
And one of the assistant editors, he was Brazilian. He ended up leaving the company, moved back to Brazil.
Wow.
Started a company with his brother and made an AI tool that basically you take your footage, you throw it into it, you tell it what you want it to like kind of cut out and move around, and it does it for you automatically. So like you throw it in there and it's like cut out ums, cut out uhs, and it does all that, and then it spits you back out the edited down thing.
Yeah.
And initially I was like mad about it because I was just like, this guy literally did the job and was like, I can go basically do something that will take away a job.
Yeah.
But then I was like, that's only a small part of the job though.
Right.
Is like is doing that very tedious thing, which in all actuality, a great thing to automate.
Absolutely.
You always want to automate tedious shit. I have so many hotkeys. I literally have a fucking mechanical button launcher that's on my desk at work that I just hit and it does like 30% of my work for me.
So nice.
So it's like I've automated most things where I'm just like, this is the same goddamn thing as that, but I just have to do less work for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if that cuts down, you know, all of this time from the editor of them having to go in, cut stuff out, like prep their stuff, it makes it a little bit faster, especially for like that level, right?
Right.
Where like you're making corporate videos, you're making YouTube videos, like you're usually a 1 or 2 man team, like pretty small. You're not going to find that replacing an assistant editor in like movies and stuff like that. You might find it making their jobs a little easier, but like there's so much more that goes into that job at that level. Right. Where it's like it will make their jobs easier, but like down here you're truly freeing up somebody so much time for them to like actually focus on an edit, for them to actually, you know, focus on producing something. And it's interesting because I'm like, no, that makes sense. That's like the perfect application of like what AI can do is like minimizing tediousness, making long jobs that can be automated so that like the creativity can be the focus of it. And I was like, it took me a while to kind of get past that, but after I kind of started thinking about it and realizing it, I'm like, okay, cool, no, that's right. That's the coolest thing that you can be doing with that. And it's such an interesting application. Like, look it up. It's called WiseCut.
WiseCut. Okay. Which is it like a plugin or is it a whole other program?
I think right now it's basically like a web app. Okay. So like you take your footage, throw it up in there, and then it spits it out and kicks it to you. It's really interesting. But like I remember initially being like really mad because I'm like, you're contributing to the problem. But then I was like, no, he's solving one specific task that then frees up a whole bunch of other time. And I was like, no, that's what we should be doing.
That's what we should be doing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, then to play devil's advocate, not that I'm, you know.
Yeah.
But
let's do it.
Playing devil's advocate.
I love hypothetical scenarios, baby, because I'm not qualified at all to speak on them, but I'm going to fucking do it.
At one point, then, is this, like, advancement of technology and AI and, like, replacing jobs and whatever, like, just similar to, like, you know, fucking, like, copy shops going out of business and computer repair shops and stuff just because we've advanced so far past the need for that? Like, at what point is it just, like, a natural step in the progression of technology and not, like, demonized, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's like, you know, there are some factors that make people think like, oh, you know, I really miss Blockbuster. But like, did the advancement of movie rentals, of streaming and stuff like that, make your life better, make it easier? Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can even argue that. Like, it just clearly did. Yeah. So it's like, you know, where does the line of your question, where does your line go of like, well, yeah, the nostalgia and like what we used to do, was that truly better? Right. Or is it just like you being like, no, I just really liked it. Right. In which case, like, you know, the specializations and specialty stores can still exist and find a market in that. It's just going to be much smaller. So small. Like there are video rental stores, but they serve a very small clientele, usually like a little bit more niched, because you have all these ones up here. Right. So it's like, it's interesting because you're still looking at it from a perspective of like, well, you have all of these small independent things, and then they just keep getting eaten up by the big dudes.
Right.
And so like that's kind of where I see this becoming an issue of it just being like all this like upward mobility of just like eating things.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, that does become an issue at some point. Like the megacorps who just like own fucking everything, and then we turn into fucking Wall-E or whatever. Yep. But like, so I guess that's the other thing. Like, because now that these like computer repair shops or whatever is like the circuit cities and the whatever of the world are disappearing, but then like because of these new corporations that do all this stuff, but then are they creating the jobs that, but then also like, are they not the same jobs? Like, do this, like someone who worked at this place probably couldn't go work there without learning new special skills. Like, is that the issue? Like, I don't know.
I think that's an interesting point too, because like you think about it from a perspective of like, no matter where you go, somebody has proprietary things that you need to learn. Mm-hmm. They have protocols, they have ways of doing things that you will always need to learn. Mm-hmm. So like having experience, like a foundational experience and understanding of like certain aspects makes that jump easier. Yeah. So I think it's one of those things of like, no matter what, that new frontier is always going to have a learning curve, and you're always going to have to adapt an entire workforce to it. Think about computers, right? Right. We took a whole bunch of people who used to do everything by hand on typewriters, secretaries, all of these things. That entire industry is gone. Right. You don't even have that anymore because people can just do it themselves. Mm-hmm. So you think of that as like, okay, well, that was gone, but it made those jobs obsolete. Yes, they are gone. But those people who did those jobs now could learn a new skill set that could then move them into a different area. Right. So like, it's interesting because with AI becoming bigger and bigger, is it just going to fully replace things? I don't know. I think it's way too early to tell. Right. But if it fully replaces things, now you have people that have to learn a new skill set to then plug themselves into that next like foundational category, right? So like I can't philosophize enough to think of whether that's good or bad, because like that is just the natural progression. That's how it's always been. Sure. But is it inherently bad?
Yeah. I think again, you can look at it a couple of different ways. Like one is like learning new skills and bettering yourself, like, or like feeling like you need to, like, that's not inherently bad. However, then you can look at it from a different way and being like, okay, well, is this accessible? Do people have access, the means, the money to do this and learn? Are they going to be stuck in this cycle of like, this is what I can do, this is what I can afford, this is a lifestyle that I can't take time off and go to school, I can't, whatever. And like there's that. There's always that.
And I think you're going to have a lot of like forced retirements. Like people who were getting to a point of being like, well, I had a couple more years in me, but like my job is no longer there. Right. I don't want to dedicate the time to that. I'm just going to retire. Yeah. Retirement is a very difficult thing because a very small amount of people are going to be able to do that in the coming years and stuff. And I think I had a whole point for this, but there's a big thing with access to things. So I can't remember, it's a book. I can't remember what the name of the book is, but Megan's told me about this before. And basically the point of the book was saying that like all of these like leaders and titans of industry, all of these people who like everybody regards as like being a genius, were they actually a genius, or did they just have access to things that people didn't? So like, for instance, the one that I always remember is Bill Gates. Bill Gates, everyone's like, oh yeah, he's a computer genius. His mom worked on like the board of some like organization that knew the guy at IBM, that he could then go to the university and like play with the computers that like only one of the universities in like the state had. So it's like you have all of these like different things that stack up for these people to then have the access. And like it's always that meme of like the people looking over the fence to the baseball game where it's like, this is like equality, where like everybody gets the same box.
Size.
Yeah. And then this is equity. Yeah. So it's the difference between equality and equity, right? Of thinking like, well, if everybody had the access that they needed to succeed, where does that put us versus, certain people with certain backgrounds and certain has positioned themselves into certain places, obviously have more access than that. Yeah. So I mean, like, growing up as like an upper middle class white male in suburban Midwest, I had a lot more access to shit than a lot of other people did, especially in our area. Yeah. So it's like,
even that at our high school, because it was such a huge fucking school. Yeah.
Right. And like that school had so much money and had so many things that allowed us to explore a lot of stuff. So like, I was able to take film literature and like 3 years of programming classes in high school that like set me up to basically be like, well, I could either go write code, which not a whole lot of people got that opportunity.
No, absolutely not.
Most of the time, like, they were either teaching themselves with whatever they could find, or the first thing was they miraculously got into college, went, studied their asses off, and then like succeeded that way. So it's like a lot of us stand on higher boxes than those other people, and so like, does AI level that playing field, or does it just add more boxes to that access? Because like, Midjourney and stuff like that is just stuff you can go access on the internet for free, right? Yeah. Anybody with Wi-Fi can do that. You walk into a Starbucks, you can do some shit. Yeah. But does that mean you get access to the $400 applications that work in this stuff that then make your job easier, etc.? Like, no, you don't. Right. Obviously, because you already can't afford X, Y, and Z. You're not going to be able to fucking pay for this plugin and stuff. So it's that conundrum of like, okay, does it truly further us, or does it only further this select group? And like, you get these outliers that are able to bust their way into that group because of X, Y, and Z that have stacked them a little bit higher than these other people. It's interesting. And I think the curve between like access to AI and access to computers is much different. Sure. Like, we'll statistically speaking probably have a lot more like Bill Gateses of AI. Oh yeah. Because computers are easier to access. Internet is like open as much as it can be. People just have more access to things. But is that a good thing?
Right. I know. That's the thing.
And I don't think we can't say that until it starts happening.
It's so early.
Yeah. Like, we can sit here and philosophize as much as we want, but like, we don't have evidence for the other. We're just kind of like thinking about, here's how bad it can be, but here's how good it can be. Right. Which one wins out?
And we're also just not even in that. Like, we're just applying it. We're just thinking in terms of like the industries that we work in, right? The creative field. Like, we're not even in tech, so we don't even know, like, so there's...
Think about all the automation of the auto industry.
Right, That's exactly
another thing. Decimated an entire workforce because you could just have robots do this stuff. It's crazy. And like, does that get applied? I don't know. And I think the intricacies of AI lends it to be different than that, because it was, again, I don't want to say it's easy to program a robot, but like, you can give something a certain number of commands that it will just repeat, right? Yeah. Versus
never get tired. AI, do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Exactly. You only have to code X amount of things. Yeah. You only have to build X amount of like physical things for it.
You don't have to pay that shit, retirement benefits.
Yeah. You have to think about how the human brain works, and then somehow apply that to a machine to make that machine do it. Yeah. Do we end up with Skynet? I don't fucking know.
Maybe. Again, too early to tell.
Did you see the one that, I can't remember which AI it was, but they fed it a bunch of like information, and it basically became a Nazi.
Oh my god!
Like it basically like started spouting like anti-Semitism and wanted to like... It was
like some Twitter thing.
Yeah, and it like wanted to... Yeah, and it like wanted to basically like start another world war and shit like that. Fucking crazy. And I was just like, oh no, you need to pull the plug on that one.
It was like that Google... There was another thing that was like a Google thing where they like had it two like Google AIs or something talking to each other, and then like within a few weeks they had developed their own language that they were talking back and forth, and they shut the program down.
That's
it was
horrifying.
Like they were literally like, they had developed a language that no one could, it didn't exist, and they were just talking back and forth, and they're like, okay,
well, this needs to stop.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
That's fucking wild.
What was the time frame for that though?
I don't remember. It was not long though.
Yeah. Because I mean, think about it. Human language has developed over thousands of years. These fucking computers developed one that was like flawless in a matter of hours, probably. Yeah. Crazy, dude.
Insane.
So, that's horrifying.
It really is.
The other Google guy that like made one and was like, it passed the Turing test, and everyone's like, you're an idiot. Yeah. Like it's literally a program. Yeah. Like, we see it.
Yeah. Ugh. I always love the Boston Dynamics videos too, dude. Yeah. If we're gonna have like another Skynet or another, it's gonna be those fucking robots, bro. Yeah. They abuse the shit out of them.
Oh yeah.
And then they make them do backflips and shit.
It's absolutely going to be a Blade Runner type thing.
It totally is, man.
Those motherfuckers are going to like rise up and just annihilate everybody. Yeah. It's crazy. It's going to be that episode of Black Mirror with the dogs.
Oh, yeah. Mm-mm. Oh, fuck. They look like the Boston Dynamics.
They do. Dude, have you seen, God, I can't remember where it was. I think it was someplace where the strippers had been replaced with like robots.
What?
So they were
Is
like
that real?
Yeah, they were like robots that were like dancing and shit.
No.
And I remember watching one where it was like a normal strip club, so it's like strippers doing their thing, and then like one of the robot dogs like walks up and like sits down and starts like doing the begging thing at like the stripper on the stage, and I was like, this is weird as hell, dude.
And this was a real thing.
This is a real thing.
What the fuck?
And I was like, that dog's gonna kill everybody in that room at some point.
That's crazy.
It's so wild.
Damn.
It's so wild.
Fuck.
But that's the possible future.
That's the possible future. We'll see. In episode like 740 of the Lunchtime Serenade podcast,
It's just gonna be two computers.
Yeah, it's
with
just
our faces.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We'll de-age ourselves to look like we do now. Fucking god damn.
What a wild place.
Or we'll react live to this episode and be like, we were so naive.
Look at the world we live in.
Look
now.
at the world we live in. It's just a gigantic green screen behind us. And
Everything's
just,
like imploding.
Yeah,
exploding.
exactly.
It's like it's fine. Everything's fine. See?
I'm getting a call right now.
Who?
Is it spam? No, I'm getting FaceTime. Dude, I've been getting so many fucking spam calls.
I've been getting so many spam texts.
Me too, yeah.
I keep getting the ones that are like, your Netflix account has been suspended. And then I'll get another one from a different like fake number like 2 minutes later that's like, your Netflix account has been suspended. I'm like, bro, you just...
Do you ever get the ones that are like calling you a different name and then like, oh my god, I have the wrong number, but we could still be friends? You ever get those ones?
No.
I get those.
What?
Those are the only ones I get, bro. Those are the only ones I get.
Wait, walk me through this. How does it go?
Let me see if I can find one. I've got to be able to find one.
So you communicate with it and it's like, hey,
you literally like, it's like a person. Like, okay.
that's so wild. Is that AI? Do you think?
Hi, my friend. And I always respond.
Hello,
my friend. And it's always like a picture of like a beautiful Asian woman that they send. It's always specifically always an Asian woman.
Interesting.
And they'll always be like, hi, Miss Suzanne. This is Aaron. My assistant gave me your number. How are you? And then
there's a picture.
And then they'll just send a picture of themselves.
Who does that?
Like, I guess I think their whole thing is like, you know they call you a name and then their whole script is be like, oh, that's not me. And then they'll be like, oh my god, wrong number. Like, so sorry. Like, but we can still be friends. Like, this is what I look like. And it's like a beautiful woman. And like, I think they are trying to just get men to like engage in a conversation with them or whatever. And then like either get them to send like suggested pics that they can then blackmail them with, or like get them to just tell them personal information that they can then use to like try to steal your identity. But it's always this format, dude.
Wild. Dude, I saw wow, combining two things right now. This is how conversations work, I suppose. I saw a post on Twitter that was talking about how they've found some like OnlyFans accounts that all of the photos are AI generated. So they're like AI generated nudes that they're then selling to people. And people were like, this is like a thing that's happening. So like imagine like after a certain point, like in this scenario where they AI generate nudes, get you to then like do something like that to blackmail you.
Oh my god.
And you just have nothing to base it off.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Is that
And it's like
is that allowed?
I don't know what it is, but like they were talking about where they're like, this is a nude photo of a person that does not exist.
That's fucking crazy.
Like this body, the face, none of it is real. All of it is completely generated. This human being is not real.
There's like a website that's called like this person does not exist or something like that, and it's literally
crazy.
just it spits out images all day of people that don't exist. They're just like they're not real people.
God, what the fuck?
It's fucking weird, dude. That's AI generated nudes is nuts.
Yeah. And there's like whole OnlyFans accounts are doing that. So people are paying subscriptions and then interacting with a person that is not real.
Here's the thing, dude. That's fucking crazy. First of all, here's the thing. Like, I think at that point, like, sure, it might be legal. I think there's a morality line at this point.
Yeah,
like,
no, absolutely.
Like, I think if you're selling this as, like, this is a real person, this is whatever, like, that's fucking weird and scummy, and I just know it. Like, I'm sure that someone more articulate could be like, this is the reason why.
And
but
also
like,
at the same time, too, like, you're still scamming people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's still fucked.
But, like, there's also, I feel like, a very, very promising... I don't know if promising is the right word, but like a very big, maybe potentially untapped for now, where it's an AI, like the virtual streamers and shit like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And people are paying because they know it's AI.
Right.
They're like, this is fucking like this is your futuristic AI girlfriend type of thing.
Yeah.
And they're paying because like it's not fronting as a real person. It's like, I am not a real person, but like people would be into it because of that, I feel like. And I think that's a big market.
That's interesting.
Because you got like the Code Mikos on Twitch and stuff, like all those kinds of like, the virtual streamer things that people fucking watch because it's like not real.
That's interesting. Oh, and then you could like think of it too, of it being like you can feed an AI to create this person, to create nudes of this person, and then have it trained to always do it of that person.
Yeah.
So like you create like a consistency of it too. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's wild. It's also interesting thinking about it too, being like, okay, well, like, we finally got to a moment where like sex workers were able to kind of like liberate themselves from like producers and shit. Yeah. Like you go to OnlyFans because they're like, I own 100% of this.
Right.
I get all of the control over like my own body. Fuck yeah. And now we're immediately like,
being like, oh,
you don't even need real people.
Yeah.
It's
that's
crazy.
Again, that's the other thing. It's crazy. And then there was a reason, I guess it was like a couple months ago, but like there was a streamer who was like completely blacklisted and ostracized or whatever because he was live and he was alt tapping between a couple of his windows and his desktop was showing, and there was this one that a window that was open that was deep fake porn of his like colleagues, other like female streamers, like it was like deep fake porn.
Saw this.
Yeah, it was, his name was Atrioc, and like he was just like completely. They're like, people are like, what the fuck? Like, you're like a pretty prominent figure in the streaming industry, and you're looking at like people who were like your friends, who you like collaborate with on a daily basis, like your friends' partners and stuff like that, like fake nudes, like not real nudes. Like these are, there's so many levels of
fuckery,
like the non-consensual like sexification, objectification of these women. 1, 2, them personally. That's fucking weird as hell, bro. I mean, just it was
3.
just so many.
It's stuff made without their consent.
Exactly.
Almost 100% of the time.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And oh god. It's so scummy.
Yeah. There's people that I was listening to another streamer because his girlfriend was like included in that group of women that Atrioc was looking at. He's like, my girlfriend literally pays someone thousands of dollars a month to scrub things like that of her from the internet.
Oh yeah. I saw that too.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Like,
crazy that you have to worry about that.
A person that literally would just scrub personal information, scrub whatever, scrub any leaks, scrub any like, AI-ification of her like from the internet completely.
Yeah, that's wild, dude. Yeah, I saw like there's a couple of like cosplayers and like games journalists and stuff like that I follow, and one of them posted that they were like, "Hey, I just found like a whole bunch of like deep fake porn of me on the internet. So like, first of all, I've never done any of this, and you will never find any of this stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
So like, don't believe that it is me and interact with them. 2, that's so fucking gross.
Dude, that's crazy.
Like you're just slapping my face on like somebody else's body. That's like, 1, gross to that person.
Yeah.
Who like that's their job.
Yeah.
Is to do that.
Yeah.
And 2, you're now associating me, a person who's never done this, with this thing
like
that doesn't need that should not have a negative connotation to it, but in most circles does.
But you've also like, yes, you've made it a purpose to make sure that this is not your brand, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
You're like, this is not me. This is not what I do. And now it's just like, it doesn't even fucking matter how hard you try to avoid being sexualized. You're just going to be sexualized.
Yeah. And you put in all that effort to be like known for something else.
Yeah.
And now because some random dude on the internet did something that has fucked with your brand.
Yeah.
And that's so gross. I mean, women already have to deal with that,
bro.
especially in like kind of like the tech gaming Twitch space in general. Now like you discredit them immediately because of whatever the fuck it is that you're doing. And it's so scummy.
Yeah.
Because like, what are you really getting out of that? It's one thing to, okay, this is gross. I'm not condoning this, but it's one thing to make that for yourself.
Sure.
Right? It's one thing to do that and not throw it out on the internet, to keep it on some gross folder on your computer.
Right.
I feel like that should be illegal at a certain point. But like, it's another thing entirely to distribute it and like not really get anything out of it.
No.
Like you could at least understand a world where a person is like, I'm going to do this because it's going to make me a bunch of money through like scamming people and stuff like that. But if you're just posting on like Pornhub or some shit, like what do you get out of that? It's so weird. It's so weird. And again, I'm not saying like I'm not saying it's justified if you have a reason for it.
Right.
But like you can at least understand a world in which a person thinks that way.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm going to get money out of this or whatever like that. It's disgusting, but like you can understand it.
But like it's even harder to wrap your mind around and already impossible to wrap your mind around a situation if they're just, oh yeah, I think people would want to see that. Fucking crazy.
Wild, dude. It's so strange. And at some point there's going to be some weird come to Jesus moment of like what's going on with that. And I think especially like the streaming space has a huge area of growth that it needs to do, and like who it allows and who is able to get a platform. Yeah. Because like, bro, you're like, you know those people, man.
I know, that shit's weird. That shit is weird as hell.
God. Also, too, like, hey, man, if you know that you're about to be broadcasting your fucking desktop to thousands of people, literally close your tabs.
Close your fucking tabs. I know. It's like the first thing I do. We have 10 viewers, and that's the first thing I do.
Yeah.
You know?
You immediately think,
this bro has thousands.
Putting nothing on here that people can see.
Yeah.
Everything is gone.
Yeah.
It's just... The confidence of some people should not be there. Like, hey man, you need to like
check yourself
before you wreck yourself. In the immortal words of Ice Cube.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Dude,
I've been really listening to like kind of like 80s rap the last couple of weeks. I just threw on like Eric B and Rakim radio and just like let it go, and I'm just like, there was something like taking it back to the human element. Yeah, there's something so nice about how imperfect all that music is.
I know, bro. I know. Like objectively, Beastie Boys were not great.
No.
Rappers.
Yeah.
they but like it's just so like, you know, it was just so cool and like cutting edge and like, yeah, it was human. You know, you had the fucking like you were chopping up samples with fucking vinyl. You were, you know,
that was the other thing I was like talking with Megan about, because it was playing while we were like driving back from someplace, and I was like, so like, when they're like scratching records and stuff like that, like they're literally playing the backing track. So like that DJ who's doing that has to know exactly where that is on the record and then move it the like precise amount so that it gets back to the area to prolong it. That's crazy. That's an insane art to like know where that has to happen.
Dude,
and like and then on top of that too, like Megan's like, yeah, like, you know, you would do that to extend the play of the track so that you could do more stuff. Like that, it's not necessarily just a stylistic choice, but it's like, well, we have to fit this sample underneath this rap. Right. Or like if they're freestyling, you have to give them a space for them to do things, right? So that's like a beautiful dance between like the DJ and the person performing, especially for like a freestyle. Yeah. Like you're doing something and you kind of have to be on the same page without ever even making eye contact. Yeah. That's crazy, dude. That's so crazy. And that's like the thing that I've always really respected of like the early stages of rap.
But then that's what's really interesting, is because now you think like, oh my God, DJs are so obsolete because you don't, you know, need to, the art form has completely evolved into not what it used to be, right? Yeah. It's so fucking easy.
It's very programmed now, at least in the eyes of most of the viewers. Of like, okay, they have everything down to the exact beat of what's going to happen, whereas like early like rap and hip hop was very much kind of like a feeling the moment and like going with it.
So that's funny because you'd think like, oh my God, you don't need this anymore. But now they're paid more than any other performer in the fucking world. You know, which is just like So it's funny how that shifts.
Yeah, you know? And I think the thing too is like you kind of have to look at it from the perspective of like what you were saying when like DAWs kind of came onto the market, right? Like it opened up access to a lot more of these people to be like, I can do that, and so they did that, and a lot of that work is front loaded, right? Like especially for you guys. I mean, yes, you perform live,
right?
Like, you
but
actually
we do the bulk of the work in the studio, and the performance.
Right. You have like your samples made that you have developed and created. You have, you know, your lyrics and stuff that you wrote for like backing tracks and stuff. But like, yes, you are still up there. Playing. Like you're up, but you're like up there hitting those samples that you created. Yes, exactly. You're up there like playing keys and stuff. Emma's fucking singing. Right. That's like those are like skills and stuff that you front load and do stuff so that the performance can be a little bit more free flowing because you know the rigidity of it and where you can flex that. Yeah. And that's so cool. And like that's not a bad thing. Like
Right,
the
no.
artistry just shifts a little bit to like
Exactly.
where it is, and
Exactly. No, you're right. You're right.
and I think that's cool. And there's still a market for people to be doing that live shit
Yeah,
of just
totally.
feeling it out, and people still love that.
Yeah.
And that's still an insane art form.
Yeah.
But like it's still there. Like this
Yeah.
didn't erase that.
Right.
It just made certain aspects of it a little easier.
Exactly.
So that you could do some other things
Exactly.
and evolve it.
Exactly. Because now, instead of scratching and trying to whatever, now you can fucking have 3 other songs going on the decks and swap between them
Yeah.
and like do effects, whatever. So like, right, exactly. You're not, it's still, if you want to apply that same amount of technicality, you can, just to different parts of the art form.
yep.
So you're totally right. Yeah.
And then you can make your performance different by focusing on different aspects of
Yeah.
it because you've done all this stuff.
Yeah.
So like, especially like DJs and stuff like
Right.
that in festivals and stuff, you spend a lot more time on your graphics,
Right.
on your lights and
Exactly.
stuff like that because this part
It's so
was
much easier.
was something you don't have to
Yes.
put so much time
You're
into.
totally right. Yeah.
And so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do I necessarily go to see that?
Right.
No, I would
Right.
rather go see people like performing, which is the cool thing about like a lot like, you know, people like you, like one of my favorite artists is Puppet.
Puppet,
He
yeah,
like
he does live
he
shit.
does a whole
Yeah.
bunch of live stuff. Like that's cool as hell to me.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
But there are a whole
There's a
hell of a
massive
bunch of
group
people,
of people that
want to
yeah.
see this.
That care, that are more
Yeah.
there for the lights and the
Yeah.
shows or the visuals and the experience. Yeah, totally.
And those spaces exist and they will always
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
It's just people now can find more specificity in it
Yeah,
and
totally.
go to it, and they can develop their own thing, and that's the cool thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what technology should do. Is it should
Agreed.
be able to allow us to free us up to do some more shit and make some
Exactly.
things a little different and cooler, and you get some more variety out of it.
Exactly.
And that has been the moral of episode 93.
92 and a half.
90,
It's one
92
of those.
or 3
92 or 3.
of the Lunchtime Serenade podcast.
Yes. Yeah. That was a really good combo. I
Yeah.
like that. That was good. We touched on a lot of different things, I think.
It took us 92 or 3 episodes
Yes.
to really be like, oh wow, we made like a cohesive thought for like one whole
episode is a whole thing. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I might not even need an ampersand for this title.
Who would have thought?
Anyways, we appreciate you guys tuning in, listening along, eating along if you did. I had a great time. I hope Brian had a great time. Back to regularly scheduled programming. Tennis is done after today. It was supposed to be done last week, but then it fucking rained. Who the fuck would have thought it was going to rain in LA? But whatever.
Now you don't ever need to worry about pooping in your white shorts.
I don't need to
for
worry about
like
pooping
a
in my
couple
white
of
shorts.
months.
Yeah, for at least until the fall. So
Oh hell yeah.
we love you all. We cherish you all. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Middle of the day,
middle of the week. Peace.
What happened to peace?